Good evening students. In this lecture we are going to discuss the chemical properties of acids. Okay. So first chemical properties is reaction of acids with metals. So in this reaction, any acid, when we take any dilute acid, react with any metal, then the corresponding salt of that metal and hydrogen gas is formed in this reaction. Okay, so the reaction occurs only when the metal is more reactive than hydrogen, because we know that all acids contain hydrogen. So the reaction only occurs when the metal taken here is more reactive than the hydrogen. Okay, for example, if we take an example of acid, hydrochloric acid, and metal which are more reactive than hydrogen, like zinc, aluminium, sodium, potassium, iron. So here we take zinc, then the corresponding salt of zinc is formed. Then the salt means zinc chloride, ZnCl2, and the formation of hydrogen means hydrogen. Here I put here 2 just because for the balancing this chemical equation. Okay, and if we take other example, then if we take sulfuric acid in place of hydrochloric acid with the same metal, then zinc sulfate ZnSO4 with the liberation of hydrogen gas. Okay, so this reaction is occurs in this way. If we take another example, you can also take different examples, different acids with different metals. Okay, here if we take hydrochloric acid with the iron, then FeCl2 and hydrogen gas are involved in this reaction. Also, when dilute H2SO4 react with the aluminium, so aluminium sulfate with the liberation of hydrogen gas is takes place. Okay, so there are so many example of these kind of reactions in which any acid react with any metal, and formation of corresponding salt of that metal with the liberation of hydrogen gas takes place. Okay, here one thing is to remember that if we take nitric acid in place of these acids, then the reaction is proceeded but in the different way, in a different manner. Okay, if we take here zinc, then hydrogen gas is not liberated in this reaction, which we studied earlier in the previous chapter, metal and non-metal. Why? Because nitric acid is a strong oxidizing agent. So when hydrogen gas is formed in this reaction, then nitric acid provide hydrogen gas to oxygen, and it changes to water. Like here also the salt of that corresponding metal, here zinc salt ZnNO3 twice, the salt of zinc with the liberation of hydrogen take place, but nitric acid is a strong oxidizing agent. It provides oxygen to hydrogen and changes it to water. With the liberation of oxide of nitrogen means NO2 takes place. So this reaction is proceeding in a different manner. So when this is important point to note down. Okay, now we are going to discuss the second property, that is that is reaction of acid with base. Okay, so in this reaction, when any acid react with any base, then the corresponding salt of that metal with the water are formed. Okay, so when we take an example, like an acid dilute HCl, when react with sodium hydroxide, that is NaOH, then reaction takes place, and here double displacement reactions occurs. Na react with Cl and form sodium chloride, which is common salt, and other name of this salt is table salt or rock salt. Okay, and formation of water has take place in this reaction. So if we see here, this is a type of reaction in which salt and water formed, and those reaction in which any acid react with any base and corresponding salt of that metal with water are formed, and those reactions are called neutralization reaction. These reactions are called neutralization reactions. Okay, got it? So let's take another example. Dilute H2SO4 plus KOH, which is another base, another strong base. When these two acid and base are react together, then formation of salt of potassium means potassium sulfate K2SO4 with water are formed. So here we can see that salt with the liberation of water are formed. So this is the type of neutralization reaction. These all are the type of neutralization reaction. We can also take more examples of different where we can choose different acids with different bases. Okay, let's take another example. Dilute HCl when react with ammonium hydroxide NH4OH, then the formation of ammonium chloride means NH4Cl with water are take place. Here this is the ammonium chloride. This is ammonium chloride. So this is the second property in which any acid react with any base, then formation of salt and water take place. Okay, this is the neutralization reaction. Now we are going to discuss its third property. And the third property is reaction of acids with carbonates and hydrogen carbonates. These are also called bicarbonates. Okay, so if we write the general reaction of this particular reaction, which is when any acid react with metal carbonate, then the formation of metal, for example, if we take dilute HCl and in place of metal carbonate we take sodium carbonate Na2SO3. Okay, then the formation of salt means metal salt. Here we see the metal salt is sodium chloride. So formation of metal salt with carbon dioxide CO2 means carbon dioxide with the liberation of water takes place. So when any acid react with metal carbonates, then the metal salt plus carbon dioxide plus water are formed. So this is the example of this type of reaction. We can take also another example. When dilute sulfuric acid react with metal carbonate like calcium carbonate, or we can also take another carbonates of different metals like zinc carbonate, and in place of acid we can take sulfuric acid, dilute hydrochloric acid, nitric acid. So here the reaction procedure in a way, their calcium sulfate, that is CaSO4, with carbon dioxide and water are formed. So in this reaction, zinc sulfate means ZnSO4 with the liberation of carbon dioxide and water are formed. So here we can see that carbon dioxide is formed in these reactions. So this reaction we can also classified as decarboxylation reaction. Decarboxylation reaction. So decarboxylation reactions are those reactions in which carbon dioxide is released during the process. Okay. So second type of reaction in this particular reaction is when acid react with metal hydrogen carbonate or bicarbonate. Okay, metal hydrogen carbonate, which is also known as metal bicarbonate. Okay, then the same reaction procedure, that is metal salt is formed with the liberation of carbon dioxide and also water are formed in this reaction. For example, we can take here in place of acid dilute hydrochloric acid or sulfuric acid. So we can take here dilute H2SO4 with metal hydrogen carbonate. Firstly, we can take the common hydrogen carbonate, that is sodium hydrogen carbonate, which is baking soda. Okay. So formation of sodium chloride plus water with the liberation of carbon dioxide is take place in this reaction. Again, we can also take an example with another acids, dilute HCl with calcium hydrogen carbonate, that is CaHCO3, react with hydrochloric acid and calcium chloride with carbon dioxide and water are formed in this reaction. So other chemical properties of acids we can discuss in the we will discuss in the next video. Thank you for watching.